Speaking of driving and driving for a living in some cases, Rowena Santos is a city councillor in Brampton and has come up with a proposal that the city start rooting out corruption in Ontario's driving schools. And it seems to come in multiple forms. So we thought we'd talk with Rowena because she's a frequent friend of the show. Good morning. Nice to have you.
Good morning, John. Thanks for having me.
Now, first of all, this is all driving schools, right? Not just the trucker schools, because we've heard of significant corruption in trucking schools, and it's one of the factors in why we have such a terrible record on trucking accidents.
Yeah, it's all driving schools, and this is about making sure that the recommendations in the Auditor General's report from December 2023 to the Ministry of Transportation related to bad drivers and unsafe drivers through fraudulent driving schools and fraudulent licenses and examinations and the actual education of drivers itself is actually dealt with. There are a lot of folks sitting in rush hour traffic right now. I just heard your traffic reporter saying that there was a collision on the road causing congestion. And coincidentally, it's been a week since Premier Ford got into that accident in Pickering on the 401 by an 18-year-old Oshawa driver. And so, municipalities like Brampton, a lot of our residents are like, what are you going to do about speeding? What are you going to do about all these bad drivers on the roads? We could implement as many speed bumps, traffic cameras, speed cameras, all the traffic calming measures locally on our roads as we want. But ultimately, the power to give someone a license and make sure they're qualified to drive, and also the power over highways where Premier Ford got into an accident, that lies with the province. So we're calling on the province to actually act and take action on those recommendations to improve drivers on our roads.
Okay, and the problem would seem to be twofold. One is some of these schools are not actually doing their job, and they'll certify like a truck driver or a driver within a couple of hours. The other is the licensing process where, people will verify whether or not you've actually been trained properly, and both of those are being corrupted.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. So there was news that was broke by investigative sort of reporting and shopping where there were driving schools who were handing out certificates for cash for people looking to get their license and their certification or their education to drive, getting it for cash and not actually completing the course. And the other finding in the AG report actually shows that there are driving instructors who train based on the actual test. So they're not actually giving a comprehensive education on the rules of the road, how to drive on a highway or what have you. They're training them to pass the test. So that's another problem because, training to drive to pass the test is very different from real life driving. And in addition to that, many of the driving schools are actually encouraging some of the drivers in Brampton or Toronto or, you name it, maybe in Brantford or what have you, to take their driving test somewhere else, because it's easier to pass. So in Brampton, a lot of residents who are looking to get their license end up doing their test in Orangeville. But guess what? The streets in Orangeville are very different from the streets driving in Brampton. And so this impact of bad drivers on our roads who are not qualified to safely drive on our roads, it's impacting auto insurance, it's increasing congestion because of the collisions, it's putting pressure on emergency response, police, fire, paramedics, the emergency rooms, the healthcare system. It's costing a lot of money on top of the tragic loss of death and injury in our communities.
Well, good luck with this.
Thanks so much, John. Appreciate it.
Rowena Santos is a Brampton city councillor.